bother him, about his look, because he's getting old. He's getting up there, so he's got to do his own thing.
He's got a wife to worry about.
Yeah.
Dooley, is there a barber on location here for you guys?
No, I wish, but that'd be cool.
There's nothing better than straight shave when you get up.
Ooh, yeah, you get like that warm towel going. Yeah. Nothing makes you feel more relaxed. Sweaty. Sorry, boys. Get that glisten going for you guys.
How do you feel about the O-line, man? We're hearing a lot of good things so far. How's it going?
Yeah, every year it's always development with these guys, and developing the veterans into better players and developing those freshmen into, where we need them to be. So it's just like any other year. I feel really good about it. I have a lot of confidence in us, and we got some veterans on the O-line right now, and I feel really confident in our ability.
What about you? How do you develop the chemistry or where one group of five is the one that ends up clicking? How do you guys go about finding that and developing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say it starts, we always say exhaust your preparation, and especially when it's O-line, you're exhausting your preparation together, right? You're not just a guy out there doing his own stuff, right? You're 5 of you guys need to work together to do the same job. And so exhausting that prep together builds that trust in the guy next to you and allows you to play with confidence because you know that he knows what he's doing, and that's a big thing with the O-line, just that confidence.
Yesterday, talking to Talon, he was really impressed with how the communication has improved in the O-line. What are you seeing in that front?
Like I said, I think it goes back to that preparation. The more prepared you are, the more communicative you can be. If you're out there and you're scared of making the wrong calls, or you don't really know what you're doing, you're just kind of waiting for the guy next to you to give the combo call or something, then it's really quiet. And you can definitely tell when we're not prepared because the O-line will be quiet. And when we're prepared, we're yelling, we're communicating, we're doing everything that we can to get the right front. So
you've played 4 years. How much more do you see now than you did a few years ago? What can you see that you couldn't before?
Yeah, just the game moves a lot faster when you first come in here as a freshman. As a college football, just so much different than high school, and you can never prepare for that, I don't think. But just guys flying around doing their job a lot better than the high school level. So I think as far as the differences in what I can see, I know what I'm supposed to do like that as soon as he calls the play, and that gives me a lot of time to look at what the defense is doing, look at what the coverage is doing, what these fronts are going to do. And as a freshman, you're focused on step right, step left. Pass set, so as an older guy, you can kind of get that muscle memory going, and then you can focus more on the actual football part of it itself.
So do you have you and Garrett in the middle there at guards, and then to have a guy like Cade? I mean, just to have 3 of those guys that are probably talking about what you're talking about. Feeling what's that do for this line, you think?
I think having Garrett, having Cade out there is essential, because those guys have the experience, and experience really matters. Like I said, the game moves really fast, and if you're not used to that, it's impossible to see those things that we're looking for. But Cade knows what he's doing, and Garrett knows what he's doing, so he can make those interior calls. I can trust Cade to make those outside the box calls, and we can get rolling.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go for it.
Okay, you were talking about the communication. For the guys who have been there for multiple years, you guys have been playing together for a while. How does that kind of help?
I mean, definitely bonding, over time, we work too hard for too long together to not be close, right? So that communication, it just kind of gets etched into who you are, as an O-line, as a center and card calls, I know it like that, and I know when we're supposed to do it, and Garrett knows when we're supposed to do it, so we say it right away, and then we're off, and then we can see, those pressures of those movements that they're doing.
Can you take us back to last year? You got so much praise from your coaches during the preseason. You suffer an injury, the team goes 2-2. I think there's people on the outside like us who are like, man, what is this offensive line doing? And you're kind of having to watch from the sideline. Can you take us back to what that was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think any injured guy can tell you that feeling is awful. You just feel helpless out there, and we talk a lot about here in knowing your role and embracing your role, and that's super hard to do when you're on the sideline. It's easy to do when you're a starter because you have to do your job to keep that spot, but it was definitely a switch in mentality into developing some of the guys in our room to where I think that we should be, and taking that step back into leadership instead of leading on the field.
How did you do that? What did you do behind the scenes that no one saw?
It was a lot of film with these younger guys, definitely developing them in the film room, a lot of prep work with these guys, and then just coaching them in practice itself, getting their footwork right, getting their technique right, giving them reminders when they go out into the field, this is what you're going to see, be ready for it.
Were you be able to be 100% last year when you came back, or did it take a little bit?
No, I definitely was not 100% when I came back, but like I said, I wanted to get out there, and I think a lot of people can attest to that feeling of just like, when can I go back out on the field? And you always get a little rush back out there because you want to be out there, but we're doing a lot better now.
2 years ago, you were an all-league player. Like you said, last year you slipped up a little bit, you got hurt, whatever. I mean, how close are you, Ben Dooley, back to being Ben Dooley, second team all-conference, maybe first team all-conference this year?
As far as all-conference goes and the hype that I received by my first season starting, like, I'm not super worried about that, I guess. I'm more interested in trusting this process and developing into the best player I can be right now. I don't want to compare myself to where I was a year ago or 2 years ago, and I don't think anyone on this team wants to do that, and that's why I think that culture here is a little different. We're all just worried about the process now and where we can be now with what we have.
So are you able to go out there and play and like not think about the injury and all that, and are you just back to being yourself? Or?
Yeah, we're in the rehab room every day still, but as we get closer to that line, as to full go as to season, I think we're really close.
People have talked about your ability as a run blocker. What makes you such a good run blocker? And I mean, do people sleep on the pass blocking too?
Sleep on the pass blocking? I don't know. I think what makes a good run blocker is mentality, and I like to think that a lot of people in our room have that. As far as those air raid teams where you just backpedal and you drop back, I don't love that. So I just really embrace that physicality in the front, and that's what I live for. So that makes me want to run block, I guess, a lot better.
So what's different about doing that for Alani and Genty? Because I would think that they would be great people to run block.
Oh, they're amazing. Genty, whenever he gets the ball in his hands, he always makes me look good. I'll miss a block and he makes the guy miss and runs it for 20 yards, and I was like, yeah, that was us. That was our play. I can always take credit for what he's doing up there, and Alani's the same way. And to have two of them at the same time is just like, I can't even imagine the places we're going to go with those guys.
You actually have another year, right? COVID year for 2020?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you kind of approaching this year then, and just kind of your mindset, I guess?
I get, stay in the present, don't focus on draft stock or, where I'm going to be at the end of this year and how I can leverage next year to, play with this year. I'm going to play this year like it's our last, I think football teaches you that quick with injuries. You never know when your last snap's going to come. So I think just playing, staying in here in the now and playing with all your heart.
What do you think the shaved head and beard does for the intimidation factor?
Oh, I think it kicks it up a couple notches for sure, especially when I'm fresh shaved and the beard's looking good. I got the shirt on underneath, just a big grizzly old man out there. And I think I like it. I really like the look.
Who do you think the last offensive lineman would be to shave his head?
Oh, Mason Randolph, easily. I'm trying to get him to do it, but he's pretty adamant about it. He likes the flow. Yeah, he likes the flow,
Who are some young guys the first couple weeks of camp here that stepped up, or some guys that we haven't talked about that are looking good?
I think a lot of our freshmen are looking really good. Kyle Cox is a guy who's really strong out of nowhere. You'd never expect it. He's so tall, but he's actually really strong. He has a really good base. I think a couple of those the guys that are coming in, Bujanowski, Ethan Card, are really stepping up, and they're really starting to feel why Boise State is so different, why our culture, why we outwork everybody, that our process and stuff like that.
So
I think they're embracing it.
Sorry, you mentioned as an older guy, how much it slows down for you, and then we see Cage Casey, a left tackle. A young guy came in last year, obviously did some things. What's impressed you about his ability to come in as a youngster and be able to get a spot?
Oh, his athletic ability is for sure the most impressive thing about him. He moves so well for how heavy he is and how strong he is. So, as he continues to develop his technique and his preparation, it'll slow the game down for him, and then his ability will just take over. And I'm really excited for when that happens.
You mentioned Alani and Genty. When you have a guy like TG who could maybe take a linebacker off QB spy, how much does that help?
Oh, we have so many weapons back there. I never worry about who's going to get the ball. I just worry about blocking for whoever gets the ball. TG, they have to respect him. They have to respect Genty. They have so many things to worry about, and I'm really excited for where we're going to be at this season.
What have you seen on the defensive line?
They got some dudes on the defensive line. They got some depth now. They got some big boys in the interior. Sheldon and Howard. They're new guys into the program, but they're they're going to be big time players, impact players for us for sure.
What's sticking out on the center position for you? That feels like there's some competition. Kind of been a revolving door there the last couple of years. What can you tell us here about the center position and how it's shaping up?
Yeah, I think a lot of positions as you get into camp are that revolving door. You know, like you're trying to win that spot, and that spot is never guaranteed. You know, even as like a veteran coming in, like you could lose that spot to someone who outworks you. You know, and I think the center position, it's about getting that chemistry and that communication up front and that center needs to kind of lead that charge. So that position is definitely a lot harder than a lot of positions on the O-line. So you're going to have a lot more competition for it.
Whatever offensive line rolls out there week 1, there's like almost a 0% chance it's going to stay that way for 12 weeks. Things happen on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But it seems like this year, better than last year, there's guys who are more versatile who can just change positions if need be and fill gaps. You know, we've seen it with Garrett and Roger and other guys. How much does that help, and does it make you guys more confident knowing if something goes bad that there's people to step up?
Yeah, versatility is huge on the O-line. Like you said, like things happen in the trenches. You know, it gets rough, it gets physical, people get hurt. You know, and to have someone who, you know, has all that game experience but can just move over, you know, and play at the same level. You know, and I think we have a lot of people in our room that can do that. So definitely has the confidence of not needing to have so much depth in our room. You know, people can just switch over.
With the run blocking, I mean, you mentioned how many guys can run the ball back there. I mean, I don't know if it's 3,000 yards as a team or 3,000-yard rushers or what you guys are going for, but I mean, you just seem really excited about the potential of running the football this year.
Oh yeah. I mean, every time they get the ball, they always make something happen, you know. So I don't know as far as our goals for the season are with the yardage, but I know our goals for every game is, you know, 150 yards rushing, you know. And I think we can easily achieve that, and I'm hoping we can give our backs a little more.
I mean, is there nothing better as an O-lineman than just, you know, continuing? They know you're going to run the ball, and they just still can't stop you. I mean, you guys did that at times last year. I mean, is that as good as it gets for you guys? That is. I mean,
I often refer to like that O-line mentality and that wanting to impose your will on other people. And when you're running the ball, that's all you're doing, you know, imposing your will on the defensive line, and they can't stop you, and they know you're going to hand it off to the backs, you know, and the coverage can only do so much for you, you know, and you're just going to get ran down your throat.